I am well, and I hope you are too.
I'm quite.
Well, so what are your issues with what you heard the Director of Legal of NDC say?
Well, thank you. Not so much an issue. I just thought that I said a few things to correct most of the impression he was trying to create. One of the problems I have is how the NDC have dialed up the temperature in the country owing to this voter registration. It's not an amalgam. The idea to register people to get on a voter register, it is not something catastrophic in a manner the NDC is trying to portray it, especially my brother. He did so yesterday on TV3, creating the impression that the NDC has a certain number of voters and therefore can marshal them onto the street, talking about Gabon and what has happened. Look, we've done registrations in this country. If you organize polling station level registration today, by the time you finish that exercise, there will be people sitting 100 yards or meters from the polling station where the registration was done who didn't get to register. That happens in this country. It's not as if you open the registration, if you go to people's houses to register them, when you finish that exercise, there will be individuals who would not have offered themselves for that process. The issue with what decision the EC has made, it was not made in private. It was in public. IFAC discussed, and the IFAC agreement was supposed to be at the electoral area level. But IFAC is an advisory body to the EC, and EC, having taken and processed what guidance IFAC has given, has decided that it would be better to do it at district level, so to achieve a certain outcome of their own construct. I don't have any input. The New Patriotic Party don't have any input. We were at IPAC and our position was made clear, but IEC has gone against that position. For us, as a political party, we have to operate and engage the process from where the EC has drawn the line. The EC has drawn the line, it wants to do it at the district level. What we have to do now is to engage to see how do we mitigate any possible impact on people. I myself just returned from the Volta region yesterday. The Teta Amo, George Aflau areas that everybody was talking about, I've seen the challenge, and I've acknowledged that the lines are so long. Here in Accra, in Albenta, a friend of mine whom I work with went to register. He sat in line from 2 up until when they were closing. There were some, according to him, some 100 and over people ahead of him seeking to register. So he went home and had to go the following day. Does that mean that we castigate the EC? Because that is their responsibility, primary responsibility, to achieve a certain mandate given to them by the EC. So what we have to do is to make suggestions. So I welcome the suggestions that Ndc'S is making in the nature of saying that we need multiple networks, because these are some of the challenges I observed in monitoring in the Volta region. I've been there for the past 6 days, right? So I welcome that recommendation. The recommendations that we need to make to AC, perhaps to look at deploying additional equipment. Are there equipment that are lying somewhere that needed to be brought to commission so that more people can be registered quickly? They are using both online and offline. Which one is more efficient? Is the online less efficient compared to the offline, so that we can make sure that people are going through the process quickly? So the EC, if you ask me, I think that everybody should go a bit easy on them, because if you have a mandate and you must execute your mandate, just like everybody has, as a director legal for the NDC, he must execute his mandate. And how he does that, the director of communications officer of his party cannot come and impose on him, because in the end, he carries the responsibility for how he executed that mandate. So once we have the space as political parties to influence and to advise the EC, we shouldn't create the impression that it is our job to tell EC how to do their job. By the way, there's a standard which the former president has set for all of us, to say that we all should leave the EC to do their job, because it is their job to be done. I recognize the difficulty, but the difficulty does not give us that power to want to force EC to do what we want it to do.
Is it what you want it to do? Because there's even been the suggestion that even if you look at CI 91, what the EC is doing is contrary to its own law. That is, it's not as if they are suggesting that the EC is doing something right and they are fighting the EC. Its own law says that in designating a registration center, they should pick a place, one, that is accessible. You agree on the matter of the fact that even your own constituency of Katu South, if you pick a place like Agbosume, it's not, you cannot say accessibility to, what do they call it? A place like Aflao is that easy. And then, secondly, a place that can be used for a polling station on election day. Their district offices, obviously, do not qualify under those two criteria. So, can an issue not be raised even when the exercise is on that you are in breach of your own law?
Well, I mean, so I don't oppose that. But the point is that are there compelling situations that makes it so that you can't do it presently? Because remember, even when IFAC went to sit and they had agreed to do it at the electoral area level, that necessarily does not match the provision of the law that you just read. But everybody agreed to it. So if you can agree to electoral area level based on certain argument that was made to you, and you know that fundamentally polling station is ideal and meets the requirement of the law, but you have somehow agreed to do at electoral college, that tells you that that law is malleable. It's not an absolute. What is an absolute situation that you cannot do anything about is a constitutional provision, because that one is cast in stone. And so based on the circumstances, you can agree to do electoral area level based on some reasoning that was advanced. But if there are other compelling reasons that makes it impossible to do the police electoral area level, and then you have to do it at district level, I am saying that as political parties, we must accommodate, okay, and engage, because that's what we are doing in the New Patriotic Party. We can also make equal noise because we are not happy. And I've made this point severally. We are not happy. But what I am not equally happy about coming from the NDC is the appearance that this is catastrophic, and therefore we must create all sorts of impression that makes it appear as though that this is a do or die situation. It's not. The comparison to Gabon, the creation, the appearance that we can call people on the street, only serves to increase the temperature. It doesn't get any real job done for us. The EC has made its decision. It is for the EC alone to make that decision. And if it's made that decision, in the interest of peace, in the interest of democracy, us as political parties, let's engage the process. I was in the Volta region, like I said to you, I met the regional chairman, the regional secretary, and the leadership in the region. When I go to the station, they come there, we talk. We say, look, there's the challenges that you're going through. We are also suffering it. You see, but the EC, who is the referee in this enterprise, we are the player. We cannot determine necessarily how the EC does. That if EC breaks the law, we can take it to court. Now, what are the laws that EC has broken? If they have broken a law, then take it to court. But let's not create that atmosphere in the country as if something untoward is being done. I know the NDC, they keep creating this impression the EC is working with NPP to suppress. That is a bogus idea, because if you want to advance that idea and the NDC haven't been in power before, then it calls to question what they did when in government. Were they colluding with the EC as they are impugning us to be doing? Is that what the NDC did in power? Were they colluding with Madame Charlotte? Was that a reason? You know, President Mahama was telling us to leave the EC alone to do their job because they know they are colluding with them. We cannot impugn that. But I take it as positive advice that he gave, that the NDC must take today. The NDC must take former President Mahama's advice.
And perhaps they are also taking the advice of your current president when he was presidential candidate in 2016, when he went abroad and told people to raise the temperature a little higher. So they put pressure on the EC. That advice came from him when he traveled outside the country. So perhaps they are taking his advice too. Are they not?
Okay, they should tell us that that's the advice they are taking. But I'm saying that that's not the context in which we are talking. That's not an applicable advice for them to take, because ultimately, but in fact, when you have the situation where you are going to take that advice, ultimately, you can't force the hand of the EC, can you? You can't. You can't force the hand of the EC. So what advice you want to take in this particular moment, because the NDC is saying we're going to court, we're doing this, and creating the impression that, you know, we are at a precipice, and so therefore, potentially, the EC must change or not. If it doesn't change, then the potential for some kind of mass action is the next step to resolve just the exercise of registration. And by the way, the EC has offered, and I was listening on your station earlier, I guess you had talking about expansion, not extension. The end result is what matters, you see? The end result is what matters. In Ghana, really what we need to look at is actually how we can facilitate and operationalize continuous registration. This is how registrations are done in some developed democracies. Registration is an ongoing process, so that you create an atmosphere where you won't have to do these mass exercises that cost so much and create so much tension. So we need to look at the issues positively and take away our biases and say that going forward, what we want to do is to ensure that anybody who is a Ghanaian who wants to register gets the chance to register. And I think that if we do that, we will be learning, because the NDC, NPP are key stakeholders in our democratic exercise. And so we must be mindful if we're in opposition, we must be mindful if we're in government to ensure that the status quo is preserved. But the way I see the NDC talking these days is more of a catastrophic nature. They are being more or less threatening in ways that I find that is not helpful for democracy. We need to dial down the temperature. There's no need to be creating these false conclusions and creating the impression as though that the EC is engaged in some exercise to benefit one over the other. It cannot be said that the EC is trying to benefit NPP. And I struggle to find how this will benefit the NPP. I struggle to find 6 days of registration. Ashanti region, the stronghold of the NPP, has registered how many? 29,000, less than 30,000 people. How does that benefit us? How does that benefit us?
Mr. Ahiagbah, thank you.
It doesn't.
Thank you for speaking to us.
All right. Thank you, sir.
He's Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Richard Ahiagbah. I think his only problem is with he said the tone of energy. I was just pointing out to him that, in fact, I think the lead up to 2016, yes, and Boachi plays that voice constantly and the video constantly. But I was pointing out to him that this is not the first time the temperature is being recommended that the temperature should be dialed up. Let's conclude on this whole discussion with Conrad Dumba. Conrad Dumba is an aspirant to the NDC chairman position in UK and Ireland. Thank you very much for your time and good morning.